All right, hello everybody. My name is Jim Brown. I'm a senior at Columbia College. I'm currently pursuing a bachelor's in arts and general studies. I took Communication 110 because I needed to improve my public speaking skills, but also as part of a graduation requirement. So earlier last week, beginning of class, week 1, we had a chance to do an introduction video that we posted to YouTube and let the rest of our class see. From there, we did a self-evaluation. In the self-evaluation, we identified some stuff that we had done wrong throughout our video, and we also used the textbook to identify, different strengths and weaknesses that we had. So when we look at these strengths and weaknesses, there's a whole long list of everything that I found that I needed to improve on. But before we move on to that, let's go ahead and talk about the actual self-evaluation process. So I sat down, I watched this video I did, and before I started watching this video, I felt like I was a pretty good public speaker. I thought I had this stuff kind of hammered out, and I thought it was going to be okay. As I went through the self-evaluation, I noticed a ton of things that I've done wrong. Things from lack of preparation, saying not having good eye contact with the camera, all this other good stuff. And it scared me because I thought for such a long time that I've been so good at this thing. Before we go ahead and move into the actual self-eval and covering the weaknesses that I found, let's go ahead and look at some of the strengths that I thought I had, and I do still have before I went into this actual evaluation process. So my number one strength is I'm an Army-based instructor. I went to the Army-based instructor course. There, I learned how to talk to groups as small as 5 up to groups that were 150 or larger. I looked at these groups and I taught them, I trained them, I taught them leadership, land navigation, all sorts of good stuff, and I presented classes daily. From there, I gained about 1,000 instructor contact hours, and from that, the first 250 went towards my senior instructor certification. So I have this certification saying that I'm a senior instructor, that I'm capable of teaching all these myriads of people in all these different venues, and I thought, man, I'm really good. The second part of that, strengths that I have in actual public speaking, is that I graduated from the TARP, Train the Trainer course, which is a threat awareness reporting program, Train the Trainer course. In that program, I learned how to give this long, 3-hour-long briefing to multiple people over various topics, all looking at insider threat and threat mitigation and all sorts of good stuff. Again, it's a ton of information to deliver, and most of the time you've got to give this class in about an hour, so that's pretty difficult. So those are my strengths, and I thought I was really good at it. But after we looked at all of this, all of these stuff that we've done, I identified I had a ton of weaknesses. And my number one weakness I found was lack of preparation. I've always been pretty good at winging it. I've always been pretty good at giving a speech or talking to people because I knew the information and I knew the subject matter, and I was more capable of actually giving these briefings or these speeches. But what I found out during this process, it's extremely hard to talk about yourself for one, especially on video. And I'm not very well versed at just talking about something that I'm not passionate about. And like I said before, it's hard to talk about yourself. It's difficult. So I found that I stumbled through a lot of it. I wasn't really prepared. I kind of bounced around. I didn't have a definite flow to anything I did. And it was obvious when we went through the actual video. From there, I found out that I say I say a lot. I said today as we've been doing this. But what I've also learned from that is that it's not necessarily a bad thing. I just need to transition from saying to using a pause. Usually I use the as part of the speech pattern to gather my thoughts and go further from there. It's not for lack of knowing what to say, it's just I'm using it as my pause. I need to work on that. So we looked at all these weaknesses and we looked at all these strengths, and I really figured out that the best thing I can do is just take these things and learn from them. Public speaking is so difficult, right? It's so difficult mostly because we're not very well trained. We get nervous, we don't know what to say, and there's all kinds of different techniques you can use to combat nervousness and to better prepare yourself. But for the most part, it's a very important skill. It's one of these skills that you need to learn. Every interaction you have with every person at any time is public speaking. Everything from customer service to talking to your kids to going to the bank to doing all this other stuff is public speaking. So looking at ourselves and evaluating ourselves throughout this class, I think that we'll be able to better develop ourselves and prepare to handle these situations later on in life. So again, thank you guys for being here, and hopefully it's been interesting.